Alrighty, so it's been a little while since I've done a Movavi video, but in today's video, I want to show you how smooth and easy it is to edit within the Movavi 24 timeline. This is really important because if you have a smooth editing experience, whether you're somebody who's a beginner, old, young, or intermediate, it's going to make for a much more conducive edit. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching OriginaldoBo, and I do want to go ahead and thank Movavi for sponsoring this video. They've been a great partner of the channel, giving me access with a license to Movavi Editor 24 so I can do these tutorials and show you a little bit about the software. But let's go ahead and just jump right into the timeline for Movavi 24. But the first thing we're going to do is add our files into our folder. Now, over the past week, I went ahead and I want to say we went to a place where there is snow in Florida. It's sort of crazy. It's called Snowcat Ridge. So I already have some videos that I've shot here. We ended up shooting these with an iPhone 15. So I'm going to go ahead and import those into my timeline. Now, I also went ahead and scored some music prior to actually building out my edit. And if you're somebody who is going to edit video, you need to make sure that you are looking for your music beforehand because it's going to help you make a much more interesting edit if you have your music ready to go prior to actually editing. Now, Movavi also offers music within their music library. So if you're interested in their music, there are predefined options already in here. And you can also find some royalty-free music or even vlogging style music. Basically anything you need, there is access to most of this here. Some of it is things that are in the Movavi store that do require additional purchase. But yeah, if you don't want to buy a music subscription, you can always use the music that is within Movavi. I use Artlist, so that's the reason why I ended up doing this. So I'm going to drag my music clip in first. And what I'm going to do is just simply shorten my music clip up a little bit because I want this edit to be really about like 30 seconds, 40 seconds long. So there's my clip, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, we'll bring that over to the end here. So that's 20 seconds. Let's make it, I want to make it like 30 seconds, like somewhere right there. 36 seconds, that's fine. So if I play this back, this is the track, sort of like a chill hop beat. But you can see there's some pretty strong cuts here. One cool thing is we can right click on this clip and then we can go ahead and detect the audio beats. So when you're editing, you can actually put markers on here so you know where you need to make your beat cuts. So what it's done right here is identified each beat, and it'll put like a little marker here. And it's actually really easy, even without the beat marker, to see on this track because you can see those peaks. That's where you should be cutting your clips for your edit. Again, editing to the beat is really important. That's what's going to make your edit seem much more professional. So if you're a drone pilot doing this and you're cutting each clip, if you have a beat detector, all you have to simply do is cut your clip directly to the beat, and it's just going to look a lot more flowy. All right, so let's go back to our video aspect. We're going to go back to our timeline here, and then we can go ahead and just simply grab some of our clips and bring them in. Now, because I don't need any of the audio attached to this, I'm just going to say detach audio. Click directly on the audio track beneath here, and then simply delete the audio track. Now, I can also just go ahead and change the time frame of this clip if I wanted to make it slow motion. All I need to do is click on this little icon here, which opens up the settings within the clip itself. Now I can reverse that clip, I can have it fade in or fade out, or I can change the speed. In this instance, I'm just going to highlight where it says 100%. I'm going to change this to 50%. Now, why am I changing this to 50%? My timeline is going to be 29 frames per second upon export. So in order to have a smooth video playback, I can lower this up to 50%. If you're doing a 24 frames per second timeline, a safeguard would be 40% slowness. And that way you don't get any of those super janky stutters. And then all I'm going to do is simply trim this up to the beat, like right there, and then play it back. And you can sort of see it just sort of gives it a little chill vibe. Pretty nice. Now, you can also change your timeline presentation as well. So if you want to have a high resolution preview, which I like high resolution previews, I want to see exactly what the camera sees. And honestly, Movavi never has struggled playing this back. This is 4K 60, and you can see it's playing it back no problem. And that's an H.265 file, which sometimes can be very difficult to edit. Another thing I want to point out is if you're going to edit Instagram Reels or something like that, you can change your aspect ratio to 9:16, which is pretty convenient. You can also add some custom aspect ratios in there as well. Let's get back to the editing aspect. So now that we have that clip here, I want to now grab a clip where we're going up the mountain. Again, same thing I'm going to do. I'm going to detach the audio, make sure I delete this audio out of here because I don't need it. And then I'm going to just trim the clip up to where I see fit. So I'm just going to grab the edge of the clip here and just trim it like that, right past that pole. And then I'm going to trim it up here again, because I want to make sure I'm matching up with these beats. So I'm just going to, again, drag this, match up to the beat, line it up. And then I want to slow this down. I'm going to grab that little icon and then just highlight and just type in 50%. Now I'll have to retrim this up again, but that's okay. Retrimming is pretty easy, or you can use the blade tool. Again, I'm just going to play this back. So far, it's looking pretty good. Another reason why I like to use slow motion is it does add a little bit of stability to your clips, which is sort of nice. If you're somebody who wants to have a smooth looking clip, the easiest thing to do is to just slow it down. That's going to give you something nice. And you can also apply the slow motion right here directly to this. You also have scene detection as well, so it'll auto detect the scene if you want it to be slow. And then, of course, if you need additional stabilization, we can just add stabilize to this clip. And then what it'll do is give you the accuracy and the shaking. You can adjust all these settings. I don't need it to be that crazy because I don't think it was that bad. But let's go ahead and say stabilize. Now it's going to go through and process this clip. Now, depending on how long the clip is or what type of resolution it is, it could take a little bit of time. I like to do this even on some drone clips because it just gets out those last minute jitters and bobbles, especially when filming with that 70mm lens. So we'll let this run through and then we'll begin our edit again. But it's going so fast, I may not even have to speed this part up actually. So this is actually sort of faster than Warp Stabilizer in Premiere. And there we go. And then you can preview it. And that doesn't look too bad, but remember, it's showing me that in full speed. So now when I go ahead and hit apply, now I'm going to see this in the slow speed. So let's go ahead and hit play back. And I think that looks fine. It got rid of that bobble. So I don't think we have to make any additional changes there. All right, so let's go back into our clips. Let's grab a clip. I want to grab, is this the clip of, yeah, so now we're going up. So I'm going to grab this clip here. I'm going to detach my audio again. Again, we're not using any audio for this. We won't use any audio until closer towards the end. There's Maddie and Zoe. And we'll just go ahead and shrink this clip down. And same thing, I'm going to go ahead and hit the gear icon here. And then we're just going to change this clip to, again, 50%. And same thing I did before. We're just going to tighten that up there to right there. So that's that. Okay, cool. So edit's coming along nicely. We're going to go back into this clip here. And let's see. Oh, I got a clip of Paul. You guys remember producer Paul? We're just going to go ahead and, again, detach the audio because we don't need the audio here. And who doesn't love slow motion Paul? Doesn't Paul look great? Paul looks like a new man. Paul's been on this new diet, and he looks amazing. Look at this. Looks like a new man. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. And so now we're just going to take a look and see what this looks like. Perfect. All right. So going back again, and we're just going through a full edit. So Paul had a selfie stick. Not supposed to have a selfie stick. I don't know who these people are. They're in our thing, but we don't know who they are. You had to have at least 8 people, and we had 6 people. So, and this is real snow. It's like ice or something, I guess. But in this one, I would probably leave this full speed. So we'll go ahead and put this here just like that. There we go. And now here we go. We're going down. And you don't have to cut all the time. You just got to make it somewhere there. So right about there, I would cut it. So we don't need this little end piece. So it's okay to skip beats. You can see I skipped like 2 beats I skipped. So I think that's perfectly fine. So I'll have that to the end there. And now what I'm going to do is I want to grab the nighttime scene. So I'm going to go ahead and, again, we're going to detach the audio. And for this, yet again, I'm going to switch this over to 50%. And And there. And I'm doing like a little reveal shot of the mountain at night. Same thing. I'm going to make sure we edit it right to the beat, just like this. There we go. And that looks pretty good. I love that. But I feel like that was too dramatic. So one of the things we can do is between these two clips here, we can go and add a transition. And we can do like a crossfade like right here. I think a crossfade would make sense. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. That looked cool. So you can add a crossfade. That's just going to give you like a little bit more pizzazz to the edit and also transition to nighttime. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to grab this fire shot because now we're at night. So I have a shot of like the fires. They had all these fire pits. I'm going to again detach the audio. And this is me going what I would say is relatively quickly. I'm already going to trim this one up because I know where I want it to be. And then I'm going to, again, change this over to 50%, just like this. So now we have 50% speed on that. And we have to drag this to where it's in our edit. So right at about there on those beats. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Now, I do need to stabilize that clip a little bit. If you notice, there was a little bit of bobble. It was like sometimes doing detail shots, it can be a little bit difficult to do. We'll go to stabilization. We're going to hit stabilize. And I think I'll just leave it just on the default. I'm going to tell it to stabilize. This is a little bit shorter of a clip. So theoretically, it should go quicker. And honestly, if there's not a lot of shake to it, it's probably not going to take that long. But again, we're using it on the default settings. We didn't tone anything back, and it looks like it's moving just as quick as it did the first time. Guys, if Movavi interests you at all, be sure to check out that link in the description. There are some coupons down there that they did provide for my audience for this editing suite. So if you're interested in purchasing it or using it or even trying it out, be sure to click those links in the description. All right, so this clip has finally stabilized. So now let's just play it back, take a look at it. Doesn't look bad. Keep in mind, again, that's showing me at full speed. So let's see what it looks like now with the slow motion. Way better, way better. So I want to, again, reiterate. So if you get a shaky clip, you use the stabilization. Now you're getting at about 80, 85% of the way there with stabilization. But when you put a clip into slow motion, you're like almost at 90, 95% of the way there, getting rid of all of that shake. So that's why you see a lot of content creators use slow motion. All right, cool. So we're there. Now what we need to do is we need to showcase this. There's this little igloo. This is where there is snow. You can actually play in the snow. And we're just going to grab this. Actually, I'm going to add that back. Detach the audio. We're going to delete the old audio. And once again, I'm just going to slow this clip down. I'm going to do like 50% again. And again, you don't have to use 50% just because you see me doing it. You can use whatever you want. Sometimes you can do, you know, faster, slower, whatever it may be. So here's the inside of this little area. And I'm just going to trim this up just like so. So bringing it right here. I'm going to skip that beat though. All right, let's take a look, see what this looks like. And I think that looked pretty good. All right, now we did go down the mountain one more time. Unfortunately, the lines are incredibly long, so I didn't get a chance to go down quite as many times as I would want. So now I'm going to trim this clip here, and I'm going to detach the audio. And then I'm going to just drag it on over. And the cool thing is, if I need it a little bit more audio, remember, because I trimmed this up before, I can just drag this to wherever I needed it. But I don't think I want, and I want this to go at full speed. So now let's play this back. Such a cool place in the middle, literally in the middle of nowhere. So this is the tandems, pretty fun. And I'm not even going to try to stabilize this because if I tried to stabilize this clip, I think it would be very difficult. I don't think it's going to come out as good as I would hope. And that's just because stabilization has certain limitations. All right, so now that we've gotten everything done, now the next thing I do after I have my timeline edited, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go into my color adjustments. And from here, I'm just going to add a little bit of saturation. And I usually just use the auto saturation. I think that looks fine. Next clip over, we're going to use auto saturation. Just apply it to the clip, just like so. And all that does is just add just a little, it's just adding a little bit more to the edit. Same thing here. We're just going to go back in, color adjustments, and I just use a little auto saturation. I don't need a lot. That looks pretty good. And same thing here, little auto saturation. Paul's face needs to be edited up a little bit more so I can go into the manual aspect of this and just add a little bit. His face just seemed a little bit dried out, and that has something to do more or less with the codec from Apple. And then we'll just bring down the shadows to give it a little bit more contrast. And then we'll just give it maybe a little bit more warmth. Just like that. And we'll add a little bit more saturation. You can also punch the numbers into your heart's desire. So right now we're at 18. I'm going to go 23. So don't overdo it with the saturation. You know, because it can look a little goofy if you do that. And we just need to add a little bit more contrast. So I'm just going to start off with 5 on the contrast. If I need more, I just go up from there. So you can sort of see what the contrast does. Man, that really does look pretty good. So that looks pretty good right there. I think that looks a lot better than it did before. And if you go into the clip itself, now this is what it looks like. And if I go to my applied effects, you can see there's auto saturation off. And then my manual adjustments. So that's before, that's after, before, after. So you can sort of see what that's doing. This clip here, same thing. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go into my general of the clip. I'm going to go into the manual mode, and we're just going to add the saturation. We're going to add this like 23. Just like that to give it some pop. You can already see that's already making a big difference. Contrast, I'm going to add about 10 to the contrast on this. I think I can get away with this because we don't really have a lot going on there. And then highlights, I'm just going to leave the highlights right about there. But I do want to change the warmth. I want to get a little more warmth in there. You can also adjust the hue. So we'll go this way. Ooh, I like that. That looks good. So it sort of gives it a filmic vibe. Of course, you can also do all of this, you know, on your own. You can also copy effects if you wanted to. So again, now I'm in this clip right here. So I'm going to go again, saturation. We're going up to 20 on the saturation. And then contrast, I'm taking the contrast up to 10, just like that. And then again, I'm also changing my temperature. It's going to vary from clip to clip, but you get the idea, and just change the tint a little bit. And same thing here. Saturation, we'll take the saturation up to 20. I usually save color corrections to the very end, because otherwise I sit there and I will literally mess with clip after clip. So it's nice to see that it sort of takes you through the process, sort of the flow. I think that clip looks good. This clip could use a little saturation. The nighttime clips, you're going to notice I'm really not going to mess with it too much. And the reason why I'm not going to mess with the nighttime clips all that much is because we just don't need to. There's really nothing wrong with the nighttime clips. That's one cool thing about filming at night. So like this clip here, really don't need to do anything to that. Now this clip with the fire, I would change the temperature a little bit. Let's make it a little warmer, sort of like that. And then maybe add 10 to the saturation. We want to be careful. We don't want it to be too much, but I think something like that looks pretty good. And then maybe I'll add a little bit of contrast to that just to make it a little more filmic. I think that right there, perfect. Same thing for this clip here. I'm just going to just adjust the saturation a little bit. For some reason, these clips got a little desaturated coming out of the camera, and add a little more contrast. Done. And for this clip here, I will add a little bit of saturation because I just want the pinks to pop. And I'll add a little bit of contrast just like that. And I'm going to call that done. So we're done with this edit right there. That looks good. I think that looks good. Let's play this back. Cool. So that's done. So now the last thing we can do, we can go ahead and come into our text if we want it. We want to add a text. We can add a text. We can add stickers, effects, if you wanted to do anything like that. For me, I just like to simply just sort of fade to black on my edits. I don't like to do anything really fancy, just fade to black. So I'm just going to simply add that little fade and then bam, done. Vlog done, video done. We just made a video in really less than what? How long has this been going for? Probably less than 15 minutes or so. We just created an entire edit. Super simple. So again, with your drone videos, there are so many aspects within here that you can use, so many cool little features that you can use within here, different transitions. So I would encourage you to explore and just poke and prod at what the editor offers. But yeah, there you go. That's how I would edit this video. Now exporting this really super easy as well. We're going to simply choose our format. I'm on Mac, so I'm going to choose MOV. You can also choose the quality that you want. So I can choose high, and I'm just going to call this Snowcat. Call this Snowcat Ridge. You can choose where that's going. So I have this right now going out to my desktop. You can also change this to 4K. So let's say I wanted to change the resolution to 4K. We can go ahead and do that. And again, we can change the quality to high. You can change the bit rate. And this is where you would change your frame rate. So remember I told you I was editing this for a 29 frames per second timeline. This is where you would change your timeline information, which is right here. So I have it set to 29.97, which is a drop frame. You can also change your audio output as well. Right now mine's set to 44,100, which I think is perfectly fine. And from there, you just hit OK. And then you're just going to hit start. So now what it'll do is go ahead and export it. It'll give you a calculation time. It'll tell you exactly how long the time is spent. So this is a little bit over about, I don't know, 45 second clip, 4K 60 frames per second. And we're almost already through with the edit. That took, I want to say it's going to take about 22 seconds. 22 seconds to export out that clip, which is pretty incredible. So super fast export times. And again, that's 4K 60. And we get a nice little video file. Quality wise, everything looks good. I'm just right now, what I'm looking for is make sure I don't have any jitters from slowing down my footage. I don't see anything. As long as you export things out properly, it's fine. Colors look good, exactly how I edit it. I think it looks fine. I got to give the iPhone credit. It does an amazing job of video. And actually, a stabilization is not that bad either. So definitely pretty good. I'm very happy with the way that edit is. Again, if you're interested in trying this editor out for yourself, be sure to click that link in the description below and, you know, see if this works for you. I think it's because it's simplistic. It may work for many drone pilots just because you're just doing basic cuts. You're not doing anything crazy. Definitely works out. Try it out. Let me know what you think. And if you have an idea for the next Movavi tutorial, be sure to drop a comment down below and I will definitely take that into consideration. As always, stay original and have an amazing new year.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset.